Jimbo, you did it again. Another five-star recruit from within the state of Texas has joined the Aggies 2023 recruiting class. We're going to talk about Reuben Owens and even more on this episode of the Locked On Aggies podcast.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Locked On Aggies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Joey Ikes. Thanks so much for making Locked On Aggies your first listen. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and over on YouTube if you're listening on the audio side. Go check us out over there for the video side as well. Smash that subscribe button and like the video also. Jimbo Fisher walked into El Campo, Texas earlier this week, and a couple of days later, Reuben Owens, the best running back in the country, according to 24/7, the best running back in the state of Texas, for sure, the third best running back in the state, or the third best prospect overall in the state, has decommitted from Louisville, and hours later on Wednesday committed to Texas A&M. Now, this is a big deal because Reuben Owens is a phenomenal football player. B, running back is a position of need for the Aggies in 2023. Devon Achane just declared for the draft on Tuesday, making running back a position of need. And on top of that, LJ Johnson had entered the transfer portal a couple of days before that. So you were left with only Le'Veon Moss and Amari Daniels in the running back room for A&M. And Reuben Owens is ready to walk in to College Station and be the lead running back for the Texas A&M Aggies in 2023. Phenomenal football player. He is a 24/7 sports composite 5-star, number 23 overall prospect in the class in the entire country for 24/7 composite. Another guy with legit speed. Not quite Devon Achane speed, but ran 4 sub-11 second 100-yard dashes, 10.68, 10.72, 10.87, and 10.95 in his track and field career at El Campo. And in terms of production on the field, 4,500 rushing yards in his sophomore and junior seasons, not even including his senior season. Max Prep doesn't have those numbers updated yet. 4,500 yards as a sophomore and a junior. Over 11, this is silly, right? Over 11 yards per carry and 68 touchdowns. 68. I don't even know. It's hard to even know what to say to that. It's crazy, the production that this guy put together. One of the best running back prospects to come out of the state of Texas in years. Lots of years. Not 2 or 3 years. Lots of years. And he is going to be a Texas A&M Aggie starting in 2023. 2022 has been a tough year for A&M in terms of from the football season to the recruiting trail, and those two things go together. We've talked about that. They win the game against LSU a couple of weeks ago, and you feel like that starts to set some momentum into place. Now, a couple of weeks later, Jimbo walks into El Campo, and a couple of days later, walks out with a commitment from Reuben Owens. And we know that this weekend of the December 16th through the 18th, the visitor list that's going to be taking visits in College Station that last weekend before the early signing period is going to be nuts. And Reuben Owens will be an early signing day signee, is reportedly going to be an early enrollee, which is big because it means he's going to be in College Station for spring practice, which will help prepare him to be a significant contributor, probably starter in 2023. And his plan is to be in College Station next weekend, the weekend of the 16th through the 18th, to help A&M close this class strong. The momentum is starting to build for A&M on the recruiting trail. Jimbo Fisher is, without a doubt, one of the best closers in college football when it comes to recruiting. Every year, A&M finishes the recruiting cycle very strong. Now, they're going to have to finish strong this year in a different way because of the fact that they were behind relative to where they need to be in terms of the class in the football in the early part of the recruiting cycle for 2023. But they're going to make some hay and they're going to make some noise on the recruiting trail over the next 2 weeks before we get to early signing day. And then in the second half of the cycle between December and February, they're going to make more noise then because Jimbo Fisher is a closer. It's what he does. It's one of the reasons why it was time to hand the offense over to somebody else, but keep the program in Jimbo's hands overall. Allow him to be, I heard this analogy the other day, allow him to be the general manager of the restaurant and create the ambiance and the culture and handle customer service and all of these things, and let somebody else be the chef of the offense. So just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful pickup, massive pickup, massive add late in the cycle, late in the year for Jimbo Fisher. And speaking of making a massive pickup, just like the recruiting trail, every new potential hire for your small business can feel like a high stakes wager. You've got to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. It's extremely easy to go to LinkedIn Jobs and create your job posting for free. Add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on the candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. You got to finish the year strong, just like Jimbo is finishing the recruiting cycle strong. The right team member, Reuben Owens, might help you do that. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Now, as we zoom out a little more big picture to what adding Reuben Owens means to the A&M offense and the A&M program as a whole, there is a legitimate chance that when A&M steps on the field next year, that just from the 2022 and 2023 recruiting classes, A&M will have 4-star players who are either true freshmen or sophomores or redshirt freshmen starting at Quarterback with Connor Wigman, 5-star 2022. Wide receiver, Evan Stewart, 5-star 2022. Running back with Reuben Owens is 5-star in 2023. Cam Dewberry is a 2022 4-star at left guard. Donovan Green, Jake Johnson, Theo Orstrom, whoever the starter is at tight end next year is going to be a 4-star 2022 tight end. That is 5 out of 11 offensive positions who are almost certainly going to be 4 or 5-star recruits from the last 2 recruiting cycles. That doesn't even include the 2021 or 2020 classes, where there are some 4 and 5-star guys from those classes who are part of the offense as well, who have gotten tons of reps over the last year or two. So 5 out of 11 on the offense. And when you switch to the defensive side of the ball, you're going to have LT Overton at one defensive end, 5-star 2022. Walter Nolan, 5-star 2022 defensive tackle. McKinley Jackson will be in there at the other defensive tackle. He's more veteran, but we know what he is. And then there are 4 or 5-star defensive ends who could play the other defensive end. Shamar Stewart, Gabriel Brown-Laudindi, David Hicks, 2022 or 2023 5 or 4-star players. Move back to the secondary. Bryce Anderson, a safety, is going to be a starter there. He's a 2022 4-star player. Deuce Harmon, Smoke Bowie, several 4-star. Bobby Taylor could be out there. There's a plethora of, and then this year you have Bravion Rogers and a couple of other guys. Dalton Brooks is another 4-star safety, defensive back. And these are just the guys who are either already on campus or already committed. We're not even talking about Peyton Bowen, who the Aggies are working very hard on. We're not even talking about Tony Mitchell, whose lead recruiter from Alabama just left Alabama to go to Colorado, and who has been in College Station on several big recruiting weekends and is close to several of these A&M recruits. The talent level, and it's going to sound crazy because it's going to be young talent again. But this year it's going to be young talent that's mostly had a ton of snaps under their belt as freshmen in the 2022 class. With the infusion of the 2023 class, there's going to be, A&M's going to go heavier in the portal this year than they have before. But the addition of this 5-star running back, the addition of, does this push Anthony Hill back into the fold? Does Reuben Owens and DJ Hicks and Damian Sanford and these guys pick up the phone and say, hey, come be a part of this with us. We know you want to be an Aggie. We know last season was rough. Let's go be the difference. Maybe that's exactly what happens with Anthony Hill. Maybe that's what happens with Peyton Bowen. Maybe that's what happens with Tony Mitchell. Maybe it happens with a couple of other guys that wind up in the fold that, I mean, if you think about the 2022 class, nobody really thought that signing Jake Johnson was an option until he signed and was part of the class. And it happened on signing day. Jimbo Fisher is going to close this class strong, and he's going to combine it with what he did in the last class, and he's going to combine it with the transfer portal, filling in the depth of the roster. And this A&M roster is going to be extremely good next year. And they're going to have a new offensive coordinator, and we should get that information relatively soon. There hasn't been too much coordinator movement. There's been a little bit. Phil Longo, who was one of our candidates that we thought might be an option for the Aggies, has been hired to Wisconsin, which is quite a shift for Wisconsin in terms of offensive philosophy from what they've been traditionally to what they're going to be under Phil Longo. That's going to be super exciting to see how that plays out. up there in Badger country. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Drake May at quarterback at UNC as well. But there hasn't been that much coordinator movement yet. There's the chance that the guy that A&M wants to hire is still playing in terms of the college football playoff situation. The obvious name there would be Garrett Riley from TCU. We don't know if that's the way that they will go, but that's obviously one of the names that's been circulated. And one of the things that's fun to do during this type of time in a recruiting cycle or a free agency cycle or anything like that is to track, private jet flights and things like that. And there have supposedly, according to some of these websites and message board posts and things like that, there have been quite a few flights that have taken off from College Station and landed in Fort Worth over the course of the last few weeks and then gone back to College Station, all within the same day or two, or vice versa, gone from Fort Worth to College Station and back all within the same day or two over the course of the last couple of weeks. So some interesting things, some rumor fodder there on the offensive coordinator side. We have to give Devon Achane his flowers for what he did at A&M and his declaration for the NFL draft. We're going to do that right after I tell you guys about our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline is still and will continue to be your number one source for betting sports information, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From football to basketball to soccer and esports, we've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Devon Achane on Tuesday declared for the NFL draft. And we're not surprised by that decision. We're a little bit sad because we wanted to see him in maroon and white for one more year. But in Devon Achane's career, in 28 games with A&M, he had almost 2,400 yards rushing, which is an average of over 6.4 yards per carry. He had 21 touchdowns. 17 of those came in the last two seasons. 5 receiving touchdowns. In total, 2,930 yards from scrimmage and 26 touchdowns from scrimmage. And that doesn't even include the 613 kickoff return yards and 2 kick return touchdowns, including one of the biggest plays in the biggest play in the biggest game of his entire career, the Alabama 2021 matchup, where he ran a kickoff back for 94 yards and a touchdown. That really is what positioned A&M to be able to win that massive game. And put up his best individual performance, saved his best individual game for his last game, when, as we all remember just a few short weeks ago, 38 carries for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns against Louisiana State. That's good old LSU in his last game in College Station. The memories, the moments that Devon Achane provided for the Aggies over the course of his career, the huge run in the Orange Bowl against North Carolina in 2020, where he was a true freshman and won the Orange Bowl MVP award for his performance in that game. True freshman, 12 attempts, 140 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then 2 catches for 24 yards, just for good measure. 164 yards for a true freshman in the bowl game against a good North Carolina team. he was just everything that there is about Texas A&M football. Devon Achane was all of those good and great things. The resiliency, the toughness, and he came in. We all know the story of he's a track star speed, but he didn't play like a track star. I mean, it showed when he broke into the open field, but he wasn't just the long speed straight line guy. He was the guy who would put the brakes on, cut, shifty, break tackles, good before and after contact, had the vision to run in between the tackles. And when his number was called in 2022 as the lead running back after Isaiah Spiller, who he had sort of split with the year before, takes 196 carries for 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns, plus 196 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. That's 1,300 yards, basically, 1,298 yards and 11 touchdowns on 230 touches as a junior at A&M. Devon Achane, one of the best Aggies of the recent generations, and I have a feeling when we look back on it, he's going to have a great A&M career, and a great NFL career to match and even exceed his NFL career. And we're going to look back on it, and he's going to be one of those A&M legends that we are so proud to see playing at the NFL level and what he accomplishes there. And we look back on just the massive moments, the run against North Carolina, the kick return against Alabama, the game against LSU, the huge runs all throughout the year in 2021 when this team, or in 2022 when this team needed it, the huge juice that he provided this team whenever they needed it for the last 3 years. Devon Achane was that guy on a team that in a lot of seasons did not have a large amount of juice, a lot of speed, a lot of big play breakaway ability on the offense as a whole. A lot of the offense has been kind of plodding and short underneath throws and things like that for the last few years. A lot of that's quarterback driven for sure, but on an offense that needed it, he was just an absolute key cornerstone part of the team, even whenever he wasn't a full-time player. And then when he stepped in to that full-time role, just even more key as a player in that role. So glad to be able to give Devon Achane his flowers, to give him what he deserves in terms of recognition, even on a day when we celebrate Reuben Owens joining the fold for A&M. So glad to be able to celebrate the career that Devon Achane had at A&M in that same day. Full circle, feels really good to be able to do that. Guys, that's going to be our show for today. We're so excited about what A&M is doing on the recruiting trail. They're going to make some noise in the transfer portal. There's going to be some transfer visitors this weekend. We will cover that list as much as we can tomorrow. Make sure you tune back in. I am your host, Joey Ikes. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen. You can find the show on Twitter at Locked On Aggies. Find me on Twitter at Joey Ikes. You can find us on YouTube, Locked On Aggies there as well. Please go do that. Smash that subscribe button for us. Like the video if you're already there on YouTube. Leave a comment on the video of your favorite Devon Achane moment or the thing you look forward to most about watching Reuben Owens in maroon and white in College Station. Guys, thanks so much. Now that you made Locked On Aggies your first listen, go check out Locked On Sports Today as your second listen for the games that matter the most, to the biggest stories in sports. Go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Thanks so much, guys. We will see you next time.